Hey there, today we're going to be talking about the HiSense U8G review video, which is pretty exciting because I have a lot to say about this one. This is probably going to be the most detailed review I've done so far, and also have things to compare it to. So I would be comparing it to the U7G, which I did use for a little while just to see how it compared to the U8G and see if it was worth the small price difference between the two. And I would also be comparing it between the previous TV that I was using, which would be the Sony X900E, which was also a really great TV for a while. But of course, I think it's 4 years old now, so this one is such a good value, and I did kind of need a new TV because the other one was damaged a little bit, so I got this one, and I'm going to go over how it compares to the other two, and general whether it's a good value or not, and to help make it useful in comparison to other things I review in the future. I will be reviewing with build, features, performance, and value/wow factor. So for the U8G, the build quality is good. It's nothing really particularly outstanding or unusual about the design, but it's just solid in general. There's nothing wrong with it. It has very small bezels, which is very good, and it's nice subtle color, it's silver. It doesn't have anything really unusual that stands out about the design, like say a Sony TV usually kind of goes above and beyond to be unique, but it's good. One thing I would take away from the design and build would be it has these 4 orange LED lights that are always on, and you can't turn them off. Even if you turn off the TV, it doesn't go off. So I literally put a piece of tape with a piece of index card to cover it up. That's not a good choice. I think it's very distracting. I don't know why they did it, but everything else about the design of the TV is very nice. It has nice weight to it. You can tell it's made mostly with plastic, but it just holds up really well together. One thing I do notice about the stand design is the stands holds it up, and if you touch the TV, it doesn't wobble, it doesn't shake or anything like that. There's been a lot of other designs, like the previous Sony TV I had, it would be sturdy, but if you touched it, it would wobble forward and backwards, which I always thought was kind of strange. This doesn't do that. It's when you screw the stands to the base of it, it's like a unit. It's like one big thing. So I like that. So for build, I give it a 3.5 out of 4. Please do not put the orange LED lights that you can't turn off on any of your favorite TVs. That's all I gotta say. It's very distracting. Next would be the performance. The TV does really good, surprisingly good considering the price. It is definitely significantly brighter than the Sony X900E that I was using before. It really makes HDR pop, and it is brighter than the U7G, but that difference is not as significant. There are a lot of things about I'm going to do comparisons one at a time now. U8G versus the U7G is a big difference. Color tones are much better on the U8G. Everything looks more accurate. A lot of times when you're looking at the U7G, there's something about the skin tones that just never looks quite right. I've gone online and I've looked at calibration options on how to calibrate the 20-point color system, and even when you do that, it doesn't look the same, especially when you look at it from an angle. Viewing angles are totally different. The U7G is about average as far as viewing angles, whereas I would say the U8G is above average. When you look at it from the angles, it always looks the same. The only thing I think there might be some better ones like the Samsung's unique technology for viewing angles, but in my opinion, the viewing angles on the U8G is very good. it holds colors very strong, very minimal change. Some TVs look better with HDR off as far as like the brightness and the colors and stuff like that. This TV uses HDR and it actually makes it worthwhile. When you use HDR, it highlights the highlights very well. The brightness is good, the color is good. One of the things I always remembered about this Sony was that I was sometimes like looking at regular content more than HDR because the colors would get very yellow and it wouldn't seem as bright. And also if you had any subtitles or anything like that on the bottom, the local dimming would show blooming around the text on the Sony, and it would actually make the black bars not look black anymore. This one does, the UHG does a much better job with this. So one thing that's interesting, both the U8G and the U7G do a very good job of keeping blooming and local dimming under control. You don't see blooming areas. I would say the blooming is tighter on the U8G. That's like the area that it's consuming is very small. But the TV is also overall brighter, so it looks a lot nicer. Everything just pops more. With the Sony, you can definitely see the blooming in black bar, but when you're looking at subtitles and stuff like that, you'll definitely see it. So that's something that's definitely improved over time, I think, and it looks good. As far as color is perfect out of the box, just like the Sony TV was. So Sony is like one of the best TVs for color, and the U8G looks just as good as I remember Sony looking. The U7G was not right. It's just sometimes it would look too yellow, sometimes it would look too pink. In general, it just didn't look, the right colors were not right. So since I've spent a lot of time with all three TVs, I can give a score for each of them, which is cool because I haven't done that before. The Sony X900E would be about a 3.4 as far as performance. The colors were great. It's relatively bright, but not as bright as the U8G, and about the same brightness as the U7G. But it didn't have as good blooming. The blooming was a problem on it, and the viewing angles were about the same. So I say the viewing angles were really good on the Sony, and they're just about equally as good on the UHG. I give the UHG a 3.5 out of 4 in performance because it just gets so much brighter. The HDR looks so much better, and it does so much better with the blooming. The U7G gets like a 2.5 out of 4. It has a lot of color issues. The viewing angle is significantly less consistent. It kind of gets very pale when you look at it from the angles. The brightness was about the same as the Sony. No issues with blooming, but the color issues are pretty distracting, and the viewing angles are a lot more and the viewing angles are not as good. Also, some things I noticed about the U7G that was unique to it is it shows a lot of gradient change. So like if you're looking at something really bright over the sky or something like that, you'll see like the waves of the colors changing. That was the only TV that I noticed does that. And also like in dark areas, you can see like artifacting or like shapes in the dark spots, so that can be a little distracting. But it definitely processes images differently than the UHG. I would say both the Sony and the UHG process the images better. Plus the UHG is much brighter and does HDR better. More areas in performance. The menu system is very fast. It's fast on both the U8G and the U7G. The Sony was a little bit laggy sometimes. You just feel like a little bit of a hiccup, like it wasn't as fast. But it's probably because it's 4 years older. But the navigating menus on the U8G and the U7G is very fast. It has you would be looking for it, you can find it. And the audio on all three TVs are pretty good. The U8G and U7G supports Atmos. I usually use the theater setting for the equalizer, and it sounds great. It does give you some kind of surround sound, and the bass is significant enough to be, you know, good. That I don't necessarily like, I'm clamoring for it, so it's pretty good. Another thing I find pretty unique about the HiSense TVs in general is it does a pretty good job of picking up over-the-air signals with antenna. I still do that because why not? And the reception has been surprisingly good, probably better than it was on the Sony. The U8G and the U7G supports lots of different features. It has Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, variable refresh rate. It supports HDR10. It supports I can't remember all of them. It's just like you're just reading off things. It has HDMI 2.1, 120 hertz at 4K. It supports there's so many things. FreeSync, G-Sync. It supports, what's the last one I can't? Oh, and in general, it just has a really high peak brightness. I feel that the Sony did not have variable refresh rate. It didn't have the 4K at 120 hertz, the Dolby Vision, the Dolby Audio Atmos. For the features, I give the Sony a 3.4. Both U8G and U7G are 4 out of 4. The features are very future-proof. Once you have this TV, you won't be worried about features. You have pretty much all of them, so non-issue. Last section would be value and wow factor. For the price, you can get the 55-inch U8G, which is what I have, for $750, and that's crazy. I would definitely say this TV performs up to this, very close to like a top-end Samsung QLED TV. It has the higher color range, the peak brightness, all the latest features, really good viewing angles, really good blooming management. So I'm like astounded at how much value there is in it. I would give the value for the U8G a 4 out of 4. It's pretty much perfect. The Sony is like 4 years old now. I don't think it should be doing value because you can't even buy it anymore for that. So I'm not gonna do that category for it. The U7G, I give the value a 3 out of 4. The reason why, while it still ticks all the boxes, it still has all the features, its general performance is not above average. Yeah, you can get the 55-inch model for like $600, but there's other things like you can still spend a lot less to get like one of the IPS TVs, for example, or like an LG or different things that might have certain things that they do better than the U7G. Like if you really want accurate color, then you might not want the U7G. Where if you want exceptional viewing angles, you might not want the U7G. So for value for the U8G, 4 out of 4. For the U7G, probably a 3 out of 4 because it just has more competition since it's not perfect in any of those areas. It needs to have better color, it needs to have better viewing angles. Even after I've tried to calibrate the colors, it never came out quite right. And it has that thing with the gradients and unusual artifacts in the black areas. So it's noticeably different. If you're on a budget, just go ahead and save a little longer and get the U8G. You will have a TV that you will like for a very long time. It looks really good. The design is really good. I don't know why they put those 4-inch LED lights on the bottom that you can't get rid of, but everything else about it is amazing. Just get a piece of tape and index card it. I really think that it probably does compare to a QN90A, except it's a little bit less bright and the viewing angles are probably just a tiny little bit less perfect. I would tell anyone, if you want a new TV, 55-inch or 65-inch, just go ahead and get it. It has Android TV, it has everything that you're gonna want, all the features. Major praise to the HiSense U8G. It's an A- when you have all the numbers, and thank you for watching.